Hello, Magic players. Computerized MTG here, and I've been saying that I've been wanting to do a deck, and well, here it is. And it's Grixis Control, which is not any of the deck that I said I was going to play, but even if this is not a deck that I'm going to end up sticking with, I feel like it's something interesting that I wanted to show. So I mentioned that I was gonna play Black-White Control or Blue-Black Cycle Control, which you can do in Grixis as well, which is helped by things like Cathartic Reunion. But yeah, so I ended up thinking, okay, well, I want to play blue, and I want to play red, and I most likely want to play control. And then I thought about it, I was like, should I just go blue-red? It's a possibility. It's a good deck. But then I thought about it, I was like, I'm going to add some black because I want to have some sideboard options in black. And obviously there's Fatal Push and Grasp of Darkness, which are still two of the best removals in Standard. So this is what I ended up with. Now, I didn't do any testing. Literally, I threw the deck together, swapped out a few things, and then I started doing this video. So this is like a very, very early draft of the deck. It will see improvements, and I'll point out kind of where. And yeah, you'll probably right away see some suboptimal choices, but I'll explain them. Anyways, so the deck. We're running 25 lands. I feel like we have enough draw power overall to be able to hit our lands. I don't think we need to run any more than 25. If I feel like I need to draw, like I'm not drawing enough lands, then yeah, I'll try to bump it up to 26, but definitely no higher than that. So for right now, I think 25 is fine. We have 4 Wandering Fumarole, 2 Swamp, 2 Sunken Hollows, 3 Spire Bluff Canal, 3 Smoldering Marshes, 2 Mountains, 2 Islands, 3 Choked Estuaries, 2 Aether Hub, and 2 Evolving Wilds. I've been thinking about removing Aether Hub altogether. Let's move on to win conditions first, and I'll explain why I cut out Aether Hub. So our win conditions obviously are Torrential Gearhulk, Wandering Fumarole as a secondary, and Fevered Vision can also win us the game. So Fevered Vision initially was 2 copies of Dynavolt Tower, but just as a personal choice, I really don't like playing with Dynavolt Tower, but I still wanted something that could hit Planeswalker, that could hit players, on a consistent basis. So I figured, let's try 2 copies of Fever Vision in the main board. I don't know, I just don't like playing with Dynavolt Tower. I'm not a big fan of it. I mess up when I play with it, so throw in some Fevered Visions. And which is also why I cut Aether Hub. I used to have 4 copies of Aether Hub and no Fatal Push, but I wanted to add Fatal Push, and I needed something to help me trigger that 4 converted mana cost, which is why I cut out 2 Aether Hubs due to the lack of Dynavolt Tower, and put in 2 Evolving Wilds, so I can trigger the Revolt on Fatal Push. I'm thinking of removing Aether Hub altogether and just having Evolving Wilds, which is actually not a bad idea, to be honest. We'll just see. The ratio of mana, obviously I tried including a lot of blue and a lot of red because our sideboard is mainly red. We have probably a decent amount of both red and black, but obviously a lot of blue, so we want to hit blue. And maybe I have more black than I need to, but we want to be able to hit double black early on if we want to because of Grasp. So I feel like we'll change things as we see fit, but right now this will have to do. So then win condition lands, and let's move on to what else makes a control deck, which is card advantage. So we have 1 Anticipate, just for early smooth, I guess. I wanted to run more copies on Anticipate, but I decided against it. I feel like we don't particularly need that much card draw. So 1 Anticipate, just to, if we draw it early, smooths their stuff out. So that works. 4 copies of Glimmer because it's an amazing card. Everybody that plays blue will play with Glimmer of Genius. It's just really good. And then we have 1 copy of Pool from Tomorrow. I was playing with other draw spells, things like what's it called? Painful Truths, and other cards like that. But I wanted more instants. Granted, this doesn't really go too well with Torrential Gearhulk, but as a one-up, it can draw you a ton of cards late in the game. You know, just refill your hand when you'd normally be forced to top deck. So this is a good top deck to get, and this will get you out of top deck mode. So I feel like one copy works just fine. And then of course we have our removal. We have 4 copies of Fatal Push, 3 copies of Harness Lightning. This I might remove altogether for other things, but Harness Lightning, it's still a pretty good card, and obviously synergizes with previous copies if I don't use all 3 energies, and obviously synergizes with Glimmer. This was a 4 of, and after cutting Denable Tower, I took a copy out of the deck, and then we have 4 copies of Grasp. I might just cut out another Harness Lightning to make copy of Grasp, because I feel like Grasp most often than not, especially in a non-tower deck, is better than Harness Lightning. But Harness Lightning is easier to cast, so we'll see. So 4 copies of Fatal Push, 3 copies of Harness Lightning, 4 copies of Grasp of Darkness, and then we also have 3 copies of Unlicensed Disintegration. I was almost going to pull this one out too, because, you know, I don't have Dynable Tower, so that's less artifacts. But we have Gearhulk, so we can trigger it, and this is instant speed destroy creature. So I figured, why not? Let's play with it, see how it runs. If this is going to be replaced by anything, it might be Ruinous Path, simply to be able to hit Planeswalkers as well, but I'm not too worried about Planeswalkers. And then the rest of the deck is counter. So we have 2 Disallows, we have 4 copies of Censor, and I highly underestimated this card. It's really good. So it will easily counter a bunch of stuff, and late in the game when pained out 1 mana is no longer an issue, you can just cycle it and it will replace itself. So very good card. So I'm running 4 copies of this, and then I'm running 2 copies of Essence Scatter and 2 copies of Negate. So that's it for the main board. Now on the sideboard here, we have 3 copies of Magma Spray. I was thinking of trying to fit this into the main deck, but I don't know. I feel like this is better on the sideboard, mainly to counter creatures that we don't want to see back, like Scrap Heap Scrounger. So that's why this is in the sideboard. Then we have 2 copies of Disallow and a single copy of Negate in the sideboard. I might remove Disallow, but I'm keeping it as is for right now. This is primarily against Control, and they're non-creature based decks, obviously, so get some counter wars going on. Then I have Liliana of the Hope in the sideboard, 2 copies of her. I have her here primarily because I wasn't really sure what to build my sideboard against, so Liliana the Last Hope is always a good card to have. I was thinking of having her in the main and Visions in the sideboard, but I kind of flip-flopped them a little bit and ended up with her in the sideboard and Visions in the main board. And yeah, so Liliana the Last Hope does a few things. Obviously slows down aggro, kills smaller creatures, and since I've seen quite a bit of token creatures here and there, I figured being able to kill those pesky 1/1s is good. Plus I can get Gearhulks back with her, so she's also good in control matchups, and obviously her emblem is just, it wins the game. There's not much to it. We have 3 copies of Sweltering Suns in the sideboard. Again, this is a card that if it becomes dead, you can just simply cycle out and it will replace itself. And it's a sweeper. We have a few options here. We have, I was thinking of Flame Tendrils because it exiles stuff, but then I was thinking the only creatures that we would really care about exiling that have 2 toughness are Scrap Heap Scrounger, and for that we can just bring in Magma Spray. So I was thinking, okay, maybe I want to hit bigger creatures. So there's always Radiant Flames, but why play Radiant Flames when you can play Sweltering Suns? So Sweltering Suns may be a little bit harder to cast if you only have 1 red source, but I feel like we have enough red sources with our lands to be able to hit the double red, so this is better. Much better than Radiant Flame, so I went with this. Then we have 2 copies of Glorybringer. This I feel like it's good against decks that we want to try to race against, where if we play the long game, it's going to be a little bit hard. So primarily against mid-range decks, they're going to be sideboarding out a good chunk of removal, and when they do, we'll be able to throw in Glorybringer, put them out there, kill one of their threats, and be able to swing for face for 4 damage. So good card. This is a really good card. A lot of people underestimated this when it was first spoiled. One of those cards where it's like, it's good, I guess, but this is a good card. This is one of those better cards from Amonkhet, hands down. And then we have the last 2 cards are 2 copies of Release the Gremlins against anything. There's other ways for red to destroy artifacts, especially with Amonkhet, but I feel like Release the Gremlins is still better. It's a little bit more mana intensive, but it puts tokens on the field, so it allows us to put in more damage, block, whatever we need to do. So Release the Gremlins is what I picked against Artifacts deck. A little mind blank there. So this is good against vehicles, this is good against what you call it, Aetherworks Marvel and whatnot. So this is the deck. It needs improvements. One thing that you can see is there's not many walkers. I didn't see much of a fit for walkers other than Liliana in the side. Yes, Jace, Unraveler Secrets could be an option in the sideboard if I decide to take out Disallows or something like that, or anything else. Obnixilis is definitely a good planeswalker. So the thing is, I want to run as many instants as possible in the main, which is why I don't have planeswalkers in the main. Yes, I could take out Fever Visions, but I think Fever Vision is slightly better than running any of the walkers right now. I could be completely wrong, and I think just as I said that, I felt like that was kind of a stupid thing to say. But we're going to run with Visions in the main, and then if I feel like walkers are better, I'll put in walkers. Hand Disruptions is something else that I wanted to put in here, but that at the moment I couldn't really squeeze in, so I'm going to find out what doesn't work and replace it with probably Hand Disruption if there's like removals that don't work. And obviously things like Lay Bare the Heart, I think it's called, great. Transgress the Mind, great card. So either a mix of both or just include one or the other, we'll see. So there's definitely options that can be changed, but this is what I'm going to run with. So this is my main, this is my side. I'll play a few games with it and record those. And yeah, hopefully this is good. Hopefully we can clean it up a little bit and make it great. So yeah, I decided to also go with this deck because I honestly haven't seen any like Esper Control list or Grixis Control list. Another one I was thinking just before this was Jeskai Control, but I decided against it simply because I really think Grixis has a better chance as a control deck. So, I mean, I did want to play with Gideon Ally of Zendikar because that card is absolutely insane, which is why I was considering Esper or Jeskai. I might make an Esper Super Friends style deck, but yeah, I decided to go Grixis. I didn't see many deck lists for it, if any at all, actually. So I was like, alright, let me put my version of a deck from Amonkhet, play some games with it. And yeah, so anyways, this is the deck. I'll play 5 games as always I do with all the decks. If I play a league, it's 5 matches. If I don't play a league, I'll play 5 normal matches. So yeah, this is it. I'll see you guys in the first match, and have a great day.